inquiry is the pedagogical focus of Session 4. In New York City, Bowu students explore Esmeralda Santiago's memoir, When I Was Puerto Rican. Inspired by Santiago's style and structure, the students began creating their own memoirs.
I am Esmeralda Santiago. I write about culture, identity, and language. I write because I'm a good reader. It's reading that saved my life. We had television, but it wasn't watching television that allowed me to do the many things that I have done that were never expected from someone like me. It was having access to books. It was having a library card and living at the library. It was being able to expand my world through this little object that I could throw in my purse and read, at night under my blanket or while I'm having lunch, or just a way for me to be in a different place from where I was, and a way for me to see that the world was a lot bigger than our apartment in Brooklyn. I had some stories that did not exist in the literature, and I had to get them out there. I refused to be silenced and would do whatever it took to make sure that I was heard. It was this frustration at not seeing our lives reflected in the literature that drove women who share this Latina background to make sure that we got these stories down. We were writing this work when no one was publishing it. And we were also getting better as writers and figuring out how to express what we needed to say in a way that it wasn't just rage, it was also artistic. And the work then began to receive some attention. This is long, long overdue that these stories get told and that women take control of telling their own stories.
My name is Bowu, and I teach English at Mary Bertram High School, downtown New York City. And I have been teaching English Regents preparation classes and senior English. But this year I took the challenge of teaching some sophomore English classes as well in this special setting classroom with internet access. Good morning, class. Good morning. So today we're going to start reading the chapter from Santiago's memoir, When I Was Puerto Rican, okay, the American invasion of Macomb. And we're going to read in class, and then you'll finish reading the rest of the chapter when you go home. In Santiago's memoir, she did tackle one of the major themes, which is the stories about immigrants, what her life was like before in Puerto Rico, and how she came to the United States, and how she struggled in the beginning, and how she overcame the obstacles to succeed in her life. I really think it's a very important theme for many teenagers to think about, because we all go through changes. And how would you cope with changes in your life, especially a negative one? I would like you to go to the internet classroom just to review what everyone has written down in your journal about what is a memoir and what you are expecting to learn from a memoir. As the final product of Santiago's project, students are going to write their own memoir. Read other people's journals. Maybe you'll get some new ideas. I created my own website, and it's really not that difficult to do. Having all the instructions in the website really allow students of all levels to learn at their own pace. The first selection from this chapter we're going to be reading is the description of Miss Jimenez.
It was a daily English class. Miss Jimenez, the second and third grade teacher, was new to the school in Macomb. She looked like a grown-up doll, with high rounded cheekbones, a freckled café con leche complexion, black lashes, black curly hair pulled into a bun at the nape of her neck, and the prettiest legs in the whole barrio. And the next day, while Miss Jimenez wrote the multiplication tables on the blackboard, I stared at them. She wore skirts to just below the knee, but from there down, her legs were shaped like chicken drumsticks, rounded and full at the top, narrow at the bottom. She had long straight hair on her legs, which everyone said made them even prettier, and small feet encased in plain brown shoes. That night I wished on a star that someday my scrawny legs would fill out into the lovely shape and that the hair on them would be as long and straight and black.
Thanks for the fantastic reading. That was really great. We can really learn how you can write descriptively when you describe a person, okay? And that's a good example. This chapter gives a very good example of memoir writing using descriptive language and direct dialogues. I use this one to sort of model for students how to do memoir writing. Now let's read the dialogue between Nagy and her puppy. So I'm going to ask the two readers to come forward and stand right here. And one pretends to be Nagy, the other to be Puppy. And also I'm going to ask someone to be the narrator to stand right behind the two readers. When students read a part, the scene comes alive. And that also models students to write.
Papi, what's an imperialist?
He stopped the hammer in mid-strike and looked at me.
Where did you hear that word?
They hear the reading. So they also learn memoir is really real-life drama.
I don't want you repeating those words to anybody.
I know that, Papi. I just want to know what it means. Are gringos the same as Americanos?
You should never call an Americano a gringo. It's a very bad insult.
In Beau's classrooms, the students do a reader's theater using Santiago's work.
This was the response I expected. Now I would hear all about gringos and imperialists.
I think it's an invitation really to begin to linger into text, to see how this dialogue is progressing, what it means, to open up that kind of conversation.
In 1898, Los Estados Unidos invaded Puerto Rico, and we became their colony. A lot of Puerto Ricans don't think that's right.
I really think that does sort of extend and deepen their understanding of a text.
They call Americanos imperialists, which means they want to change our country and our culture to be like theirs.
Is that why they teach us English in school so we can speak like them?
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to learn English so I don't become American.
He chuckled.
Being an American is not just a language, Negrita. It's a lot of other things.
Like what?
What I like particularly, what's particularly powerful from an educational point of view, is the students become very sympathetic to what's happened to Puerto Rico. There's a level of understanding about Puerto Rico that many of their parents do not have, I'm sure. And it's that kind of empathy and the ability to step into other people's shoes and not to only think that their perspective is the only perspective that's valuable. That's what makes an education particularly significant.
Why do people call Americanos gringos?
We call them gringos. They call us spics.
What does that mean?
Well,
He sat up, leaned his elbows on his knees, and looked at the ground, as if he were embarrassed.
there are so many Puerto Ricans in New York, and when someone asks them a question, they say, I don't speak English, instead of, I don't speak English. They make fun of our accent.
Papi,
Yes?
if we eat all that American food they give us at the Centro Comunal, will we become Americanos?
He banged a nail hard into the wall, then turned to me, and with a broad smile on his face said,
Only if you like it better than a Puerto Rican food.
Thank you. It was great. The reading was great. Thank you very much. Okay, everyone. So now we have a sense of what this chapter is about. And right now, I would like you to write your responses in a journal form. Jot down the questions and then respond as much as you can.
If I have one piece of advice to give to teachers, it would be to think about starting their program with this phrase, what's on your mind? That is, if you can get students to talk about the things that are sort of running through their mind when they're reading a story, and keep notes of those things. Oftentimes students don't think we value those thoughts, and so when we start a conversation, they already are giving you information that they think you want to hear. And I think one of the things you have to do in setting up an inquiry-based curriculum is to assure students that what they're thinking about is important.
Yes. Okay. And once you finish, you just copy and paste the whole thing into the internet classroom. Into the document, Santiago, in the internet classroom. But you're already in documents, add a document, just called journal number 2. Journal number 2 based on American invasion. Inquiry learning doesn't really mean teachers let students loose and do whatever they want. Rather, it means teachers need to structure the lesson the way that allows students to ask more questions, to discover their potential, creativity, and also what skills they are lacking. Okay, now we've finished writing the journals, and I'd like you to go to a small group to share your journals and discuss some of the issues and topics that came up, okay, in your reading. And at the end of your discussion, I'd like each group to come up with a list of topics or issues that you would like to explore further and put that list in our internet classroom. So all class members can share those topics. And now I have another question about the topic. Okay, now yes, we have generated topics from the literature we have read. Now, what are we going to use the topics for? Anyone knows? Jason?
We're gonna write our own memoirs.
Yes, we're going to write our own memoir based on the topics that we have generated from the literature we have read. Okay, so great. Now we're going to go to our small groups and have a discussion of our journals.
What are your personal feelings as a Hispanic towards an invasion? I mean, if my country was invaded, I'll feel degraded, very degraded, because I wouldn't feel right. I'll feel like if all my freedoms are violated, like they'll take out my culture, my traditions, and if you have no freedom, there's just no point on living.
Changes could be good or bad. It depends on the way you see things and the way it could affect on your life.
The way Esmeralda Santiago, the author of this book, she expressed in the chapter the invasion of Macon. She could have used so many other words, but when she used invasion, to her it could have seemed something as in a negative way, that she had to learn new things in a forceful manner.
When students have small group discussions, they really open up. They share what their understanding is of the story, and they go back and forth, and they really get a full picture of what the story is about. Students feel freer to express their ideas, and also it's a more casual conversation.
I think one of the questions that I came up with was, did social change affect the culture of Puerto Rico?
A topic in which I selected was, what was life like for immigrants during the 1960s and 70s? The reason in which I selected that was because many Puerto Ricans during that time wanted to migrate to America to seek a better life.
You think they actually went to go to America because they seen the Americans come to Puerto Rico and seen that they probably had a better life?
Yeah, because when the visitors came to Puerto Rico, the Puerto Ricans noticed their attire, how they dressed, how they talked, and it's like overall America's better because the money is here, the clothing is better, and you have better opportunity if you come to America.
I would say that a topic that we should come up with is what makes someone an American, because like her father said, that it's not only it's the music and the food you eat.
I believe maybe if Americans would have never invaded Macon, that people would have probably been happy the way they were.
Getting a topic, it really goes through a lot of process. You're reading the literature, you talk about it based on the contents, and then things you want to know more, and then maybe one thing just trigger that topic. Oh, I got it, this is what I want to know. And they can really help each other find the right topic.